I hate how much I hate my people, people of color. I hate it. But I mean, just something like just drop my kid off at school. And so this black woman, obviously fat, I don't think I need to say that, but she's dropping one of her kids off too. And it's like the kid didn't know that they were going to school today or something. Because, of course, they're not ready, right? And of course, she has to be right in the front walkway spot where, like, the cars go. Like, she's causing congestion. She's causing everyone else to be inconvenienced. And you know, she doesn't care. If you were to say something, I don't care. And yet she wants everybody to care about her. Her needs, her wants, you know, how she feels is more important than everyone else's. And I just, you know, you see this just everywhere. This really, really entitled, mean. Like, I hate it, man. I hate how many videos. Like, I just hate who black people have been made into. Because black people aren't that. You know, I was related to and grew up with black people who weren't that. Black people, not N-bombs. But this, you know, you see it just everywhere. Everywhere. And I wish I knew what to do. Like the things that are supposed. It's the same thing with like the rednecks, right? When people talk about heritage, it's heritage, not hate, blah, blah, blah. You can't think of anything else that represents your heritage more than a flag. And a flag is supposed to symbolize, like that's the purpose of the flag. A flag that symbolizes essentially hate, you know, and slavery and is hatred. And it's 1961 to 65, 4-year time frame. Basically, one of the biggest losers in all of history. There's nothing else from the South that represents Southern pride than specifically designed to represent, you know, division and slavery and all that good shit. At least according to the narrative we're given, right? And it's the same thing with black people. Like, why does being black mean you speak like you be speaking like you never went to school, you never be going to school? Like it's so bad. And you think these people all passed school. We have a neighborhood kid. I've talked about him plenty. He's the kid who came by with a broken bike a couple weeks ago. I know he's passing school. The reason I drive my kid to a different school is because I don't want my kid going to the school this kid went to. Because Redford Union is just awful. It's an awful school. And the kids that come out of it, I've known several, they're dumb as rocks. They be dumb as rocks. Like, the teachers are passing them, despite the fact that they're just as dumb as can be. And you know, I almost worry about that with my kids' school because it has a lot of blacks in it. And I know that if there's a lot of blacks in the school, well, then it's the design is to make them stupid. You know, our society is designed to make black people into the worst type of stereotypes that the chosen find hilarious. You know, the step and fetch it chosen, the step and fetch it stereotype. You know, blackface, it's not talked about enough, but blackface wasn't like a necessity. And Hollywood isn't a person. Just like Israel, Hollywood is not a person. It's a construct. It's a representation of things. And Hollywood was exclusively, and still is to most degrees, controlled by one group of people who are very, very racist, supremacist people. And so when you look at the old blackface, brown face, you know, for the Native Americans and whatnot, that wasn't, you know, from necessity. That was because they were like, fuck no, we're not going to let any black people on set. Fuck no, we're not going to let, you know, we're not going to pay black people well to. But at the same time, in his time, apparently, Stephen Fetchit was the highest paid actor in Hollywood. Why? Because he was willing to play that role. Just like Red Fox. You know, just like JJ. Do you understand why JJ was put on TV? It wasn't because he was this phenomenal actor. He was a terrible actor. Even in a show like Good Times, he was a terrible actor. Like, he stood out amongst the other terrible actors. Well, Esther Roll and John Amos are good actors. And even the other two kids were decent actors. JJ was like, this is the funniest looking black person we've seen. He looks like, you know, the old pictures, the old Jim Crow pictures come to life. If he would have just had, like, braids coming out, he would have looked just like that old picture. And they were like, let's make him go on TV and say a bunch of shit. Oh, dynamite! You know how black people have catchphrases and stuff, right? Have you ever met somebody with a catchphrase? You ever met somebody that says something like that? Oh, dynamite! Oh, everybody's gonna have a good time tonight, thanks to Kid Dynamite! And everybody's like, oh, JJ, you did it again. It's disgusting. Oh, you know what? Red Fox, you know what? Yeah, let's give this really seasoned comedian his own show. How about this? This will be so funny. He lives in a junkyard with his son, who still lives at home with his dad in the junkyard. Oh, let the hilarity ensue. Let the hilarity ensue. That show is so bad. If you could find me 5 genuinely funny moments from Sanford and Son, I'd love to know what they are. Oh, I'm having a big one, Elizabeth. Oh, that's so funny every time I see it. Over and over and over again. It's hilarious each time. And I've talked about, at length, I've talked about Richard Pryor and how just overrated and not funny, and I just don't get it. Unless, of course, you're a friar and you're like, hey, Richard, do the one with the junkie, how your uncle's a junkie. Yeah, it's so funny. Do the thing where he's a junkie. Oh, that's hilarious. You know, because the black people, they're all junkies. You know, it's all, you know, those are the ones that are willing to do it. That definitely not good looking. No one has ever thought Richard Pryor was good looking. No one. And if he wasn't famous, he definitely wouldn't have been thought of. The couple of people that did, obviously, because of his fame. If you saw that dude on the street, you'd be like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I mean, and look what it is today. Look how bad it is today. The average black kid, they're just so, these are the black kids who were raised by young teenage mothers who were raised by young teenage mothers who were raised by young teenage mothers. You have to go a few generations now before you get that, quote, big mama character who at least instilled respect, to some degree. It's all just stereotype character bullshit to me. And nowadays, like, what it means to, quote, be black to me is just, so much of it is such a negative. When I was growing up, it was wearing giant t-shirts that looked like dresses and, effeminizing yourself, putting in your earrings, putting in your nose ring, getting your jewelry, gotta get your jewelry, gotta get your jewelry. How did that happen? How did black people, their ability to communicate, get so fractured in such a short time? Like, if anything, the blacks from, the 70s and 80s and shit, the way that they would distinguish themselves would be talking like this, man, where everything is slow and extra enunciated. Whoa! Jesus Christ, you asshole. Fucking right there. I just don't get people. Oh yeah, I bet you do work on submarines. Gotcha. Hey, you guys liking the gas prices? $2.99? That's the cheap gas station. That shit was like $2.69, $2.59 a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be a lot more expensive by my house now. Because Trump's going to lower the gas prices, remember? Trump's going to lower the food and gas prices because that darn Biden made all the food and gas prices go up. God, Trumpansies are stupid. It's all crazy, man. But like I say, you get these kids that are growing up essentially raising themselves. They're the mom is some dumb hood rat. Like, I just can't even imagine, unless you really are a spectacular person, how you could ever come out of that. Mom's a hood rat, grandma's a hood rat, great grandma's a hood rat, everyone's still alive, under 60. It's and all of them are ignorant trash. How do you come out of that? And it's all by design. Like, when you look at the amount of money, like the Secure Community Network, right, that raises alone, the SCN raises $2 billion a year to be dispersed throughout the friar community. They make up 2% of the United States population. And there are multiple three-letter organizations, ABC organizations, the ADL, the JFN, These are all just funneling money either into Israel or into the friar community. The secure community network is just so shocking. The link is in the description, along with lots of other receipts that you should check out. But the secure community network is just, I don't know, it's just how when you look at the black communities compared to the friar communities, and it'll be like, well, the friars, they put the importance on education and blah blah blah. Like, well, yeah, when you are flush with cash, when you don't have to worry about how you're going to keep your lights on and how you're going to feed your family, you can do that. You can live the drug dealer life without selling drugs. Well, yeah. But when literally you can't get a job because nobody will hire you because of how you look. Trust me, other than jobs like McDonald's, which are all going away, they're putting all those kiosks in place, and soon the burger makers will be in there too. The automatic food bag putter-inners. It'll all be that way soon enough. These people can't even get those jobs. What do you expect? They have to feed their baby. They love their baby just as much as Friar loves their baby. Maybe even more, since they don't mutilate and molest them. Ritualistically sexually abuse them. But what do you expect? Your baby's crying and hungry. You can't just call Uncle Morty. What are they going to do? The only thing that they've ever been shown is the drug dealer, the sports figure, or, the rapper. And basically, all of the characters are at least two of those rolled into one. It's insane. Black people are designed to fail. The system around black people is designed to fail them and to continue to create, fodder, basically. And it's the same, it's just like with Palestine, right? They could have ended that war, they could have ended that genocide a long time ago. They absolutely could have, killed, like Palestine by 2025. Palestine could have been a long afterthought, which they probably should have done, because back before there was the footage that there is now, they were much more likely to get away with it without any sort of repercussions or outing on our end. It's fucking disgusting, man. It's just disgusting what's that all of this is by design. It's all happening because they want it to happen this way. Like I said, the Palestine thing, we talked about it a lot yesterday, but Palestine could have long been erased and long been in the hands of the Israelis. More, I mean, it is. It already is. Palestine is run by Israel. There is no Palestinian leadership or government or Jesus Christ. Big fat ass kid on his way to school drinking a big Coke. You let your kid look. That's why he's so fat. His kid has bigger double chins than I do. That's saying a lot. But see, that's the type of person then who would be like, "Well, people are mean to me." And if I'm an employer, I'm not hiring you if you're fat. You know, if I have other people I can hire, if there are other applicants who are, you might be a little bit more qualified, but if you're a big, huge, especially like really, really fat, there's no way. From what I've seen, fat people lie all the fucking time. And the proof is in the pudding. Any of those shows out there, Secret Eaters, My 600-Pound Life, anything that has to do with fat people, they lie. Literally, they lie about the dumbest things, the most insignificant things. And if you can lie about insignificant dumb shit, you can definitely lie about important things. I'm sorry, I don't really apologize for that. Like, I get it that some of you do have issues, and if that's the case, well then okay. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna hire you, but I've experienced it. I've worked with them. They're always, on breaks and shit. It's just weird. I've had lots and lots of different jobs, like all over, like, I mean, the range of jobs I've had would just blow your fucking mind. And I can tell you that the only people I've never worked with are the friars. I've worked for them. I definitely worked for them. And it's interesting because, like, this goes back to 2003 or 4, And I can remember my grandfather always talking about the friar that he worked for, and what an asshole he was, and what an unfair person he was, and how he would do these just shitty things, unnecessarily shitty things all the time, and it was strange. You would just be like, why do you insist on being this person when it's not necessary, right? And I grew up in the same system as everyone else, where I believed, you're not supposed to say that. You can't say that they're like that. Come on. That was just one guy. That's just one guy. Growing up, you don't realize that stereotypes come from someplace. There's a reason why there are stereotypes out there. And the one where they're cheap and they're shitty mean, I've never seen I don't know of any of them that go out of their way to dispel that stereotype. I don't think being cheap is a bad thing. I'm pretty cheap when it comes down to it. But I'm also extremely fair, Having worked in many restaurants in my life, if you give me good service, I'm going to reward you. I'm going to tip you 25%. All legends and myths have some truth to them. No. I think a lot of them do, but I don't think all of them do. Like, there are all, I mean, just look at the friar thing about Matitza Bapé. What truth, what this legend, this tradition, where does this come from? What good does it do? The thing is, like, again, I've said this before. There's sure there's more than one, but there's this documentary about prison in Ellis Island or Sing Sing, whatever it is. I don't remember. One of those New York prisons. And it's from like late 70s, early 80s. And other than the occasional black guy who talks like this, man, if you were to shut your eyes, you wouldn't be able to distinguish between the blacks and the whites. They all sound the same. They all sound relatively educated. Even though they're in prison, they sound relatively educated. And now you have, like, it's almost like different dialects, but for what? Where'd they come from? How did they, who was like, it would be cool if instead of saying street, we said screet. Instead of saying strong, we said scrong.
Didn't that one rapper start that shit?
No, not that I know of.
Out of Atlanta?
Not that I don't know which rapper that would be. I know Nelly did the whole, well, not Nelly, Murphy Lee actually did the whole, got the hole in the TVs are where wood grains and stuff. What's that? Square dancing. Eminem.
That's the mumble rap. That came after the street.
No. Yes, mumble rap is newer. Mumble rap is from the 2000s. That's definitely. Please don't start doing this part. I know. So you got 1 out of 100. Like, you're at 100% right now. You should quit while you're ahead. She's not the best when it comes to, like, dates, per se. But I remember it. I was, I had the country grammar tape. I had the tape in my car with my speakers. And then it was Air Force. I don't even know if Air Force One was on there, or maybe it was added to it. But there was that one verse with Nelly, with Murphy Lee, and that shit just took off. But the screet and scrong thing, that's prison stuff. That's from Southern prison shit. I guess. I don't know. But I mean, again, black people are pants saggers. Sag your pants, because in the jail, the guys that sagged their pants took it up the body. How did that become a thing? How did a symbol that you take it up the butt in prison become such a popular thing? Like, just think about how backwards that is and how much that actually totally contradicts the whole thug life narrative. It's crazy. And then thug life, you get characters like Lassane Parrish, Tupac Shakur, who is as CIA operative, as a, it's just, it's stupid. There was a great channel years ago that used to put out all these videos about how Tupac was gay and how Tupac is a friar creation, because if you were to look at his face, if you were to take all the color out of Tupac's face, he'd look very friarish. He has the friar facial features. Tupac was one of the worst things to ever happen to black people. What do you think when you hear a record like Tupac's new one? He's talking about, I had sex with your wife, and not in those words, but I love that nigga. To live and die in LA. That's a great song. I'm not a huge Tupac fan by any means. And it's interesting how Tupac didn't necessarily resonate with me, and I didn't know why. But as I got older, I realized what a creation he was. Whereas Biggie clearly was just some dude that had talent from the street. Listen to that dude talk. He sounds like he's fucking dumb, like he's just some guy. He obviously had to have talent, but he also fits that narrative where let's put out the ugliest fucking guy we can. Tupac being one of the better looking guys they presented, even though, Tupac's the same size as my wife. I wonder how many women were like disappointed by that. They had this vision of Tupac in their head, and then they met him and they were like, hey, nice to meet you. But the reality is, tell me who Tupac was banging. The only sex that you can guarantee that Tupac had was the one that he was convicted on, where he was convicted of sodomy, forceful sodomy, while forcing the girl to blow his buddy, and didn't go to prison forever for it. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? He got some preferential Trump treatment there. The only thing I agree with you about is that Biggie was better than Tupac. So you're a pedophile then? Leo Black. We know that Black last name. That's a giveaway of sorts. So we know you're a genocide supporting pedophile then. You literally just said it. People are so stupid that they would say stupid shit like that. And it just shows you exactly what I'm talking about. It's crazy that Biggie is ever even considered to be one of the greatest rappers of all time. Dude put out 2 albums. Sorry, that doesn't work for me. He was good, but 2 albums doesn't mean shit. I was agree that pedophiles and genocide are bad. I thought it went without saying. Oh, why would that go without saying? If that went without saying, then why would I say it all the time? Especially when you look at the comment section and you look at everything I deal with, how would that even come close to going unsaid? Because it's fairly obvious. Is it? Is it obvious? Because I don't know if you've noticed, but it's pretty prominent. And I don't know if I do know you've been on my feed before, so pretending to, this is where you're just a dumb shit, right? If you had any sort of credibility whatsoever, you would say, you know what? You're right. With everything that happens on this feed and shit, I can see why you would say that. But of course, you're not. You're not real by any sense of the word. They are real? Why do you think they are real? Anybody who thinks submarines are real, you're more than welcome to make your arguments. I mean, you don't have any. That's the thing. You you don't have an argument. I've been on a submarine before. I bet you have. I bet you have. Yeah, they had it in the harbor, and people could come and they could walk on it, and they could see how everything works. And yeah, no, I was on vacation, and they bomb boat submarines. I'm just trolling, doing my own live feed. Welcoming discussion is me trolling. Gotcha. Says the troll. I can see birds. Do I think they are what we think they are? Who knows? I know my smallest cat is probably the smartest of the cats. And her brain is probably the size of my thumbnail.
Who? No.
Maybe the size of my thumb tip. It's pretty small. So I have to wonder what goes on in there. She clearly has emotions.
Oh, yeah.
But who knows? I can't buy your life like 20 times. Finally gonna ask, what are some examples of submarines not being real? Go watch the first 9 parts of the submarines aren't real thing, and you'll get all the answers you need. It's not something that you just have a quick discussion on because you're not prepared. You know, the what I'd like to hear from is somebody who's actually, you've been here 20 times, right? Said it time and time again. Go check out the examples that are given. But at the end of the day, you want to believe submarines are real. You don't even have an inkling that they're not. So it doesn't matter what information is presented to you. You're just going to overlook it with stupidity, more than likely. I can present you with all the evidence in the world. You won't take it. You won't use your common sense. I've been on a sub. I'm sure you have. Isn't it interesting?
Okay, have you been on a tour of a land-based sub? Like,
Damn, that sucks, man.
Naval museums and shit? Like, is that the sub you've been on?
Of course.
Or an actual deep dive underwater?
No. And even somebody that says they are, why would anybody believe them? They don't, it's not like they're going to be like, I was on a sub, let me explain this, let me talk about this, they'll say they were on a sub, but then if you start asking them questions about shit, they don't know. And at the end of the day, none of you know this shit. Go do some research. Go prove to yourself that submarines are real. Go do the history on submarines and prove to yourself that they're real. And then come talk to me. But if your sole thing is that you saw them on TV, you saw them in a harbor somewhere, that's nothing. I've seen lots of things on TV.
What's the sub movie?
Hunt for Red October.
Hunt for Red October. Saw that.
Dolphin. Yeah, that shit is moving around, dodging missiles and shit. Hard left. Okay. a bit of sub. See, again, this person keeps saying, "I've been on one. I've been on one. I've been on one." That's all they have. Are you saying that subs can't sink underwater, or that you can't breathe in the underwater in an underwater sub?
Now, there are ships that can be submersed, but not in the way that we've been presented and taught.
There are boats that can go underwater, aka U-boats. They cannot go, they do not have big old vessels the size of 80 school buses that can sink 300 meters below the surface and stay underwater for 6 months. That's dumb. That's dumb. And looked. There, says aren't real. Parts 1 through 9. Did you not hear that part? Parts 1 through 9. It took a long time. This isn't a simple subject. I mean, it really is. It's simple once you get there. Before you get there, it can be difficult. Right? It can be difficult. But most people accept the idea, well, ballast tanks. Well, it's ballast tanks. And it's just stupid. You guys, okay. You want to know what the best example I can give you is? It's something that all of you can do. I can give you 2 experiments that all of you can do. The first one, you don't even need any props. Right? Human beings are 70% water, so they say. This 200-pound body, if this 200-pound, I look nervous. If this 200-pound body goes to the beach, gets in the water, this 200-pound body that is 90 or 70% water, bones, muscle, blah, 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 what's it do? It floats. It's extremely difficult to swim this 200-pound body that is 70% water and full of bones and muscles and shit. It's difficult to swim it down. And the deeper you go, the more difficult it is to swim down. Like, if you've ever been to one of those big-ass 15-foot, 20-foot deep pools, it's difficult to get to the bottom. And when you do get down there, your head feels like it's about to implode. It is rough. At 20 feet. At 12 feet. What am I talking about? What? The only way I can get this 200-pound body to actually sink down and get to the bottom of the water is to blow out the worth of air that I have in my lungs. Then my body will sit there. But I have to get rid of most of my air, and I can't sit very long. We're talking about worth of air. About yay big. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Yay big right here and here. Little bit worth of air right here keeps all of this floating. As a matter of fact, my legs will sink a lot of the time. And even though my legs are sinking, trying to pull this body down, that small amount of air keeps me afloat. Now, ballast tanks don't fill up 70% of the submarine with water. Ballast tanks fill up, about 10%, 5, 10% of the volume of the sub is filled with water. Otherwise, you supposedly, not only do you have worth of air in all of the lungs that are inside the sub, you have pressurized air filling the submarine that has to constantly be adjusted. The amount of pressure on the inside has to constantly go up and down depending on how deep the submarine goes. Too much pressure and the sub explodes. Too little pressure and it implodes. It doesn't sink. We don't sink. Interestingly, dead bodies don't sink either. They still float. Nobody's breathing air into those things. Yeah. Enough to keep them floating. The gases that are already inside the body to begin with. The idea of sinking way down to just above the bottom and just floating there, you know how difficult that is? This brings us to the second experiment. Next time you go to the beach, take with you a 2-liter, a full 2-liter of pop, soda. Throw it in the water. Before you open it, throw it in the water. See if it sinks to the bottom. Would you say that's probably by volume 95% liquid? Yep, there's pressurized gas in there for sure. But about 95% of it's liquid. Floats, might sink down a little bit, but it floats. Now, empty said 2-liter. I want to know which one of you is strong enough to put the top on the 2-liter and swim it down to the bottom of the fucking 12-foot deep pool, 5-foot deep pool. Yeah, you could maybe push it down. Even if you were to try to, you were standing in the 5-foot, 6-foot deep water, and you tried to push it down, you would have the hardest time holding that thing underwater. And as soon as you let go, it would fly up and pop out of the water. Out.
That's what submarines do when they want to surface.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you look at the couple of videos, there's only a couple of videos that are available on YouTube showing an actual sub ascending, and it does exactly that. They show the water just sort of sitting there, and then suddenly the sub pops out, and it even bobs a little bit. Do you understand the forces that would be on the people? They would be like, whoa, whoa. But apparently in a submarine, there's no forces.
Well, there's some. I've seen some sub episodes in some of these.
You've seen some episodes. I'm talking about in footage. In footage, nothing. We watched them supposedly ascend 100 feet below the surface, from the depths, up through and break through the 3, 4, 5 foot thick ice above them with the top of the sub, which is supposedly like where all the equipment is. Seems foolish. Seems like, an iceberg took down the Titanic, right? So if you broke through the ice, aren't you going to have shards that might scrape through? Like, that's what fucking happened. Yes. But when they crush through it, there's nothing. They have a simultaneous shot of the people inside the.
I was trying to think of the name. That's what I was trying to say. From the depths of the.
I forget what it's called right now.
The control room or whatever it is.
It's the nest, I think. It's the. Whatever. It's in the. It's not at the very top. It's in like the middle top.
Yeah, where all the equipment is.
Right.
Not the lookout area.
Right. And in this shot, for some reason there's a bunch of guys in the actual little control room along with like the 3 people driving.
The rolly chairs don't even roll.
Nothing. They just they go up. The guys are standing there. 3, 2, 1, impact.
Why they have rolly chairs in there, I don't know. But they didn't even...
Oh look, I'm schizophrenic. We have our standard fryer bullshit here. Standard fryer bullshit. Submarines are not made of plastic bottles, right? Neither are giant freighters. You know, the giant freighters that haul millions of pounds of shit from one port to the other.
Just incredible.
Those aren't made of plastic either. You know what those are made of? Metal. And yet those don't sink.
And boats are made of fiberglass, which is...
I mean, boats, military boats are made of metal. How they've been able to make boats out of metal, why don't those boats sink? Because of that cavity of air keeping them, afloat? Is that why? Are you saying if we filled that cavity of air with maybe 10% water, it would sink?
Well, we've all made boats to go in the bathtub or a little creek or whatever out of various things, and we don't put a compartment of air in them, and they float.
Right. They just float.
And it's not because they're lighter than the water.
But the metal boats...
It's the shape.
No, the metal boats, the reason that they don't sink is because the way they're designed, the bottom part is full of air.
They are?
Yeah. It has to be. I mean, if you took a piece of metal and you put it in the fucking water, it's going to sink. If you took a metal bowl and you put it in the water, it's going to sink.
A canoe's metal. Compartment of air under it.
A canoe is metal.
Yes, a canoe is metal.
Oh, yeah. She's talking about yeah.
I've traversed many of metal.
But it creates that compartment of air. But she's right. There is no... Right. She's just right. It's just the shape. Yeah.
The force of the water pushing up.
Pushing against it. Right. What do you think it would take for you to sink that canoe?
Oh, we've done it. Okay, so...
Without tipping it.
Right, yeah. No, we've done it. We overloaded a canoe one time. We decided to use the one canoe for all the coolers. Really stupid. Put all the coolers in the canoe, and then people were just adding, different equipment. And there was one person that was paddling that canoe. And it sunk because of the weight. It was just too heavy. But it wasn't easy to do. It was a lot of fucking weight in that canoe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as with people, that one we did once too. But that's because we all piled in one canoe because we were trying to do a picture.
Yeah, but that's also...
But it didn't sink all the way.
That's also, too, balance. And, it's just like with anything like that. As soon as the water crests over one of the edges, then it's going to pull it in.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying without it tipping at all. It was just, we had like 20 people piled up. It was stupid.
Right. And that weight pushed it down. And as soon as one side, because it didn't do it evenly, one side caught it just a little bit, and then it starts, and the water just starts filling in. And
with just me in the canoe, the minute you tip it enough to get water in it, it starts happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it's only a certain amount. You can have ankle deep water. And
think about how many times you've accidentally done something like that. Right?
Oh.
In all of the years of military service, the U.S. government has 0 sub-accidents. They've gotten submarines right 100% of the time, 100% of the time. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Okay, but what do they determine as accidents?
A disaster, something where... Okay, so submarines failed. Every single submarine ever designed, apart from the 1620 Cornelius Drebbel design, every other submarine failed. And then suddenly, I guess the Germans just sort of figured out the U-boats, but we don't really have much information on those. And when you start looking into it, they don't make sense.
Well, like I said, again...
How do you see?
It depends on what you construe a So you can't tell me that they never were underwater and something, one of the systems failed and they had to surface and all was well and crisis averted. Like,
Sure. They've never had any sort of disastrous accidents like that. They've never had a loss.
no losses. Okay, so that's how they determine.
And when you're talking about the German U-boats, again, these boats, they used line of sight to be able to see. They didn't have some sonar system that, showed them where they were going underneath the water. No, the top of the boat still came out of the water so they could see.
So
Like,
how do they see what's under the water?
exactly. Exactly.
They have windows. They have windows.
Well, I mean, like, this is one of those things. Like, if you believe in submarines, right? This is where your arrogance will sort of get in the way, right? Because if you believe in submarines, that means you have to believe that in 1850, in the Bahamas, they had a submarine that was capable of going 150 feet below the surface, could stay underwater for 3 hours, and had a hatch on the bottom that could open up so they could harvest oysters and shit like that. Do you believe that? Do you think that's possible? In 1850, when they're 150 feet down below the surface of the water, how do they see inside the sub? They couldn't have a flame light source. Are you kidding me? They blow up.
Flashlights.
Belch. And of course, this thing is supposedly connected to a tube that goes all the way up to the surface that cycles the air through some sort of steam engine, pumping the air down and cycling out the bad air. Come on. 1850, really? Other than building incredible structures that still exist to this day, what technology did we have back in 1850? This is the part with all of it. This is how all of this works, and people just don't understand. They don't realize. And I'm so glad I happened to stumble across dry ice, because dry ice is one of the best examples of it. Dry ice is one of those chicken and the egg situations. Because if you look at they tell you when you look it up, oh yeah, dry ice, that shit's easy to produce. Not a big deal. All you got to do is collect a bunch of carbon dioxide. Then you take it to another place where you refrigerate it down to well below zero and then compress it at the same time. And if you do it enough, you'll get dry ice. Boom, bada bing. Well, the first instance of dry ice reported in the history books, some dude in France just happened to write about this thing, and we know about it today, was he opened up his so carbon dioxide can't exist at our atmospheric conditions. It sublimes from solid to gas. There is no liquid phase. The only way you can have liquid is under extreme conditions like compression and temperature. So he opened up his liquid carbon dioxide container, and as it rapidly evaporated, dry ice was created.
How do you get it out of the container?
How did it get in the container? What fucking container are we talking about in 1835 that could hold pressurized fucking liquid carbon dioxide? What did they freeze it with? How did they lower the temperature of the carbon dioxide to well below zero? How did they collect it? Where did they collect the carbon dioxide from? They say from fermentation plants and shit like that. 1835. Collecting carbon dioxide, filtering out all the impurities so you're just left with pure carbon dioxide, then freezing it and pressurizing it and putting it into a pressurized container. If you look up the the regulator device that's needed in those kind of situations, that shit's not invented till like way later in history. So what did they use? But if the technology was around back then, it wouldn't be mainstream because the military keeps cutting edge technologies top secret even today. No, I'm talking about the official historical narrative. So this is, again, this requires common sense. This isn't a you versus me thing. This is just a common sense thing. This is me putting your common sense to the test. Do you believe, like think about what you think 1952 looked like. What does 1952 look like? What do the cars look like in 1952? What do the planes look like? What does the calculator look like? You ever seen a calculator from 1950? They look like typewriters. Now, at the same time, you know, the military had fucking aircraft carriers and shit somehow. So they definitely do have access to more tech than we do. But in 1952, the military just decides that they need nuclear-powered submarines. And Hayom G. Rickover, who was born Jewish, but then converted to Protestantism, because, you know, that happens all the time.
Maybe he fell in love with a Protestant girl.
Yeah. His entire narrative is as manufactured and stupid as it gets. He is the highest ranking military official ever. Like, he is, I don't know if it's all military. I know it's the Navy, and I think it might be in all of the military. Where is he? Oh, we'll just look him up. But his narrative is just, it doesn't make any sense. There is no, he spent a bunch of years at engineering school to learn nuclear physics, and, you know, none of that exists. He just, they go, hey, Hayom. They go, hey, Hayom, we need nuclear submarines. And he goes, okay, I got you. Yeah, let me just work on it. By 1956, they exist. You know, the Rickovers. Hayom G. Rickover. Yeah, this guy. I haven't done this in a while. Hayom George Rickover, born January 27th, 1900. Died July 8th, 1986. Understand that anybody that says that they had anything to do with submarines prior to this guy's death would have known this guy. They would have interviewed with this guy, because this guy interviewed every single person that had to do with the submarine program while he was alive, while he was in his position. Because that makes sense. Every single person. He directed the original development of naval nuclear propulsion and controlled its operations for 3 decades as director of the U.S. Naval Reactors Office. In addition, he oversaw the development of the Shippingport Atomic Power Station, the world's first commercial pressurized water reactor used for generating electricity. Rickover is also one of 7 people who have been awarded 2 congressional gold medals. Rickover is known as the father of the nuclear navy, and his influence on the navy and its warships was of such scope that he may well go down in history as one of the navy's most important officers. Quote. He served in a flag rank for nearly 30 years from 53 to 82, ending his career as a 4-star admiral. His years of service exceeded that of each of the U.S. Navy's 5-star fleet admirals Leahy, King, Nimitz, and Halsey, all of whom served on active duty for life after their appointments. Just not Rickover. Rickover's total of 63 years of active duty service makes him the longest serving naval officer, as well as the longest serving member of the U.S. Armed Forces in history. Having become a naval engineering duty officer, EDO, in 1937, after serving as both a surface ship and submarine qualified unrestricted line officer, his substantial legacy of technical achievements includes the United States Navy's continuing record of 0 reactor accidents. See? You get it right every time. So here we go. Early life and education. You got me into it. I give you that. Rickover was born Hayom Gadala Raikawa to Abraham and Rachel Rochelle Leah Rickover. Rickover. I was wondering where Rickover came from. That's not a name I've heard of. Rickover. A Polish Jewish family from Makov, Mazakowski in Vistulaland. His parents changed his name to Hyman, which is derived from Hayom, meaning life. His name was Chaim. They changed it to Hyman. Why? Why change it? Still the same thing. You're definitely not hiding the identity there. Hyman? You named your kid Hyman?
That's awful. Heiny.
Hyman? You know, the thing that gets broken when women lose their virginity. By the way, if you ask ChatGPT for his real name, it won't tell you. Yeah, I need to do that. I'm going to do that next time. I'm going to talk to ChatGPT.
It's all documented.
Yeah, he's just going to remember. I'm going to remember what you're saying. He did not use his middle name, Godelia, form of Godelia, but he substituted George when at the Naval Academy. So it's a fake identity. And this is what you literally see with all of them from history. It's a manufactured narrative from the beginning. Fake identities, name changes. That way, when they're like, do you remember going to school with this person? Somebody would be like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I guess he might have looked like that guy. I don't remember. You know, Maxwell had like 5 different names at least in his lifetime. Robert Maxwell.
It's so weird to me.
Right.
It's not like he's a woman that had several husbands.
Right.
You know?
And the names are pretty substantially different. You know where else you see that is with the founder of the Nation of Islam, Muhammad Wallace Fard Muhammad. He again, lots of names. Looks just like Netanyahu. Matter of fact, let me just show you this real quick. This is uncanny. So this is your boy Netanyahu. And this is the guy that founded the Nation of Islam. If I said the black Muslims, the Nation of Islam, would this be the guy that you would think founded it? I mean, it's just, I just don't know what else to do. Like, I'm showing you guys everything. Notice how nobody's actually getting involved, right? All those people that are always talk about some, I'm talking about it. Where are you? I know you've never done this. In 1906, age 6, Rickover made passage to New York City with his mother and sister, fleeing anti-Semitic Russian pogroms. Oh, aren't they all? So let me ask this. How does him and his mother and sister come here? Where's the dad? What's 1906 life like for a single mother of 2 in New York?
It wasn't easy in the late 50s in Detroit for my grandma. I can't imagine in, 50 years before that it would have been any easier.
During the revolution of 1905. They joined Abraham, who had made earlier trips there beginning in 1897 to become established. Oh, so the dad was already there. So they were such poor, destitute, persecuted people that the father had been traveling from somewhere in Russia to the United States multiple times for almost 10 years before the family joined him. Boy, that must be nice. His dad must have been super successful to be able to afford to do all that.
It sounds like he was a smuggler to me.
Oh, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Smuggling shit from Russia.
Rickover's family lived initially on the east side of Manhattan, but 2 years later moved to North Lawndale, Chicago, which was a heavily Jewish neighborhood at the time, where Rickover's father continued work as a tailor. Oh, he was a tailor. He was one of those amazingly successful tailors from back in the day. Gotcha. That makes sense. Moving all over, moving from New York to Chicago back in 1910, that had to be easy to do, right? No problem. Rickover took his first paid job at 9 because he just worked so hard, earning 3 cents an hour, equivalent to $1.05 in 2024, for holding a light as his neighbor operated a machine. Later, he delivered groceries. He graduated from grammar school at 14. Rickover attended John Marshall Metropolitan High School in Chicago and graduated with honors in 1918. He then held a full-time job as a telegraph boy delivering Western Union telegrams. That job's gone. Though, through which he became acquainted with Congressman Adolf J. Sabbath, a Czech Jewish immigrant. Sabbath nominated Rickover for appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy. Boy, that worked out well, huh? Gosh, that's how this... Hey, package boy, did you need a better job? Do you need a better life? Let me help you out. Well, it's kind of a weird story. I just perchance happened to be... It was just a perchance, just a chance encounter. Rickover was only a third alternate for appointment, but he passed the entrance exam and was accepted. He was a third alternate and still passed it. Rickover's naval career began in 1918 at 18 years old at the Naval Academy. At this time, attending military academy.
I don't know which one you're trying to say.
Academies, god damn it.
Oh.
Attending military academies was considered active duty service. due in part to World War I. On June 2nd, 1922, Rickover graduated 107th out of 540 midshipmen and was commissioned as an ensign, which is like a grunt. He joined the destroyer La Valletta on September 5th, 1922. Rickover impressed his commanding officer with his hard work and efficiency and was made engineer officer on June 21st, 1923. So 6 months later, he's made an officer.
Must have been just.
9 months later, my bad. Becoming the youngest such officer in the squadron. Must have been super impressive. You know, the little tiny friar. He next served on board the battleship Nevada before earning a Master of Science degree in electrical engineering from Columbia University in 1930. How? Was it remote? Was it online? Was he taking online classes? Night school. Oh, yeah. So 7 years later, he has his Master's of Science from Columbia University by way of a year at the Naval Postgraduate School and further coursework at Columbia. He got a Master's in a year?
No, 7.
By way of the Naval Postgraduate School. He got it in a year. At the latter institution, he met Ruth D. Masters, a graduate student at Internet who he married in 31. She returned and doctoral after she returned from her doctoral studies at the Sorbonne in Paris. Shortly after marrying, Rickover wrote to his parents of his decision to become an Episcopalian, remaining so for the remainder of his life. Sorry, he became an Episcopalian instead. My bad. What do you think this devoutly Jewish man, what do you think could possibly change his mind? Just think about how ridiculous that is.
She must, like I said, she must have been Episcopalian. Only a woman can do that.
I don't think she was. Her name is Ruth Masters.
No, Masters doesn't have to be.
Ruth Masters, come on. A doctor named Ruth Masters. She's a doctor in 1931.
Very British name.
Rickover had a high regard. We can't look her up. Rickover had a high regard for the quality of the education he received at Columbia, as demonstrated in this excerpt from a speech he gave at the university some 52 years after attending. Columbia was the first institution that encouraged me to think rather than memorize. My teachers were notable in that many had gained practical engineering experience outside the university and were able to share their blah. Rickover preferred life on smaller ships, and he also knew that young officers in the submarine service were advancing quickly. So he went to Washington and volunteered for submarine duty. This is 1930s. Okay, so now listen to how this is going to go back and forth, right? His application was turned down due to his age at the time of 29. So this is in 1929. So this is before he got his master's. Right? Because he got his master's in 1930. Try to keep this in perspective. He's got a master's degree in electrical engineering from Columbia in 1930. By way of the naval by a year at postgraduate school. And yet, in 1929, because remember he's born in 1900, he's trying to apply and be a part of the submarine command in Washington. So how is he commuting to Columbia? Let's just keep going. Just keep paying attention. Fortunately for Rickover, here's another one of these oops-a-daisy, look at lucky for him things. He encountered his former commanding officer from Nevada while leaving the building, who interceded successfully on his behalf. All right, you ready? This is where it's going to get good. Sweetheart, you got to pay attention. This is interesting. From 29 to 33, Rickover qualified for submarine duty and command aboard the submarine S9 and S48. He got his master's in 1930 from Columbia. So how was he on submarines in 1929 through 33? Rickover, while aboard S48, he was addressed a letter of commendation from the Secretary of the Navy, quote, for rescuing Augustin Paris from drowning at the submarine base Cuckoo Solo Canal Zone. There's his medal. He rescued somebody's story. He saved a guy who was drowning. Apparently a naval officer was drowning. While at the office of the Inspector of Naval Material in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 33, Rickover translated Das Untersput, the submarine, by World War I German Imperial Navy Admiral Hermann Bauer. Rickover's translation became a basic text for the U.S. submarine service. Are you telling me they had no one else that could translate German back then?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even think about it that way. Now that you put it that way, yeah. No. On July 17th, 1937, he reported aboard the minesweeper Finch at Qingdao, China, and assumed what would be his only ship command, with additional duty as commander, Mine Division 3 Asiatic Fleet. Keep this in mind, okay? June of 1937. The Marco Polo bridge incident had occurred 10 days earlier. In August, Finch stood out for Shanghai to protect American citizens and interests from the conflict between Chinese and Japanese forces. On September 25th, Rickover was promoted to lieutenant commander, retroactive to July 1st. So he's gone from being commander in July of 37 to lieutenant commander September 1st or September 21st, but that was retroactive backwards to July 1st. So they're adding 3 months to his resume. In October, his designation as an engineering duty officer became effective, and he was relieved of his 3-month command of Finch at Shanghai on October 5th, 1937. But he wasn't in command. Technically, he was the lieutenant commander for roughly 11 days. But when you consider that this is the highest ranking officer in all of the Navy, and he literally only commanded a ship for roughly 3 months. A small ship, right? This was just a small ship out in China somewhere. And yet he's admiral, lieutenant commander, you know, 4-star. He was never in command of anything. He was never in command of a aircraft carrier or a destroyer or anything like that. Rickover was assigned to the Cavite Navy Yard in the Philippines and was transferred shortly thereafter to the Bureau of Engineering in Washington, D.C. So he then went to the Philippines, then was shortly then transferred to Washington. Do you understand all of this travel in the 30s? Once there, he took up his duties as assistant chief of the electrical section of the Bureau of Engineering on August 15th, 1939. So roughly a year later, he's in Washington. April 10th, 1942, after America's entry into World War II, Rickover flew to Pearl Harbor to organize repairs to the electrical power plant of USS California. Rickover had been promoted to rank of commander on July 1st, 1942, and in late June of that year was made a temporary captain. For what? All of his strategic advice? All of his experience? This guy is a fucking electrician. It's funny, but it's not. Like, it's really fucked up. Imagine all of the other commanders and shit that are like, what? I'm out there in the shit. I got people's lives in my hands. I sleep with this bullshit every night. This guy's the big shit. In late 1944, he appealed for a transfer into an active command. He was sent to investigate inefficiencies at the Naval Supply Depot at Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Then was appointed in July 45 to command of a ship repair facility in Okinawa. Do you understand this? This is a glorified fucking electrician, mechanic. None of this shit is in. Why wasn't this man, put on in charge of people? This is in the middle of the fucking war. Shortly thereafter, again, because we have lots of shortly thereafters in this story, his command was destroyed by Typhoon Louis, and he subsequently spent some time helping to teach school to Okinawan children. What? Why would they want anything to do with that fucking guy? And why would he was a captain in the military, and now he's teaching school children? It's like the ChatGPT was just trying to throw so much in that it doesn't even make sense. And if you listen to the dates and the times and shit, that overlap just is weird. And it seems like they took something else out, because I seem to remember something else happening around 1932, 33, where he was doing something in Sacramento. He was in California at the same time. Maybe it'll say it later, but there was something else that he was doing in this at the time that he was supposed to be at Columbia and serving as the submarine command. He was also in Sacramento for something. Later in the war, his service as head of the electrical section in the Bureau of Ships brought him a Legion of Merit and gave him experience in directing large development programs, choosing talented technical people, and working closely with private industry. That's strange. Time magazine featured him on the cover of its January 11th, 1954 issue. Boy, that's amazing. Let's see. Okay, so this is gonna go back, I guess. Here's focus on education. When he was a child, Still living in Russian-occupied Poland, Rickover was not allowed to attend public schools because of his Jewish faith. Yeah, that's a thing. Starting at the age of 4, he attended a religious school where the teaching was solely from Tanakh, i.e., the Old Testament in Hebrew. So, where did this guy get so smart from? If his entire youth education upbringing was based on the Old Testament, seems strange. Seems strange. Following his formal education in the United States, Rickover developed a decades-long and outspoken interest in the educational standards of the U.S. as being a national security issue, particularly as compared during the Cold War era to Soviet Russia. An example for his, I don't care. Rickover believed, I'm trying to find more about his education. All right, let's go back to this part. Naval reactors and the Atomic Energy Commission. In December 45, Rickover was appointed Inspector General of the 19th Fleet of the West Coast and was assigned to work with General Electric at Schenectady, New York, to develop a nuclear propulsion plant for destroyers. In 1946, an initiative was begun for the Manhattan Project's Clinton Laboratory. So, yeah, this guy is associated with the Manhattan Project. Aren't you surprised? I am so surprised. To develop a nuclear electric generating plant. Realizing the potential that nuclear energy held for the Navy, Rickover applied. Rickover was sent to Oak Ridge through the efforts of his wartime boss, Rear Admiral Earl Mills, who became head of the Navy's Bureau of Ships that same year. Rickover became an early convert to the idea of nuclear marine propulsion and was the driving force of shifting the Navy's initial focus from applications on destroyers to submarines. Rickover's vision was not initially shared by his immediate superiors. He was recalled from Oak Ridge and assigned advisory duties with an office in an abandoned ladies' room in the Navy building. He subsequently went around several layers of superior officers, because that's okay, and in 1947 went directly to the Chief of Naval Operations Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz, also a former submariner. Man, we didn't have submarines for very long. So it's amazing by 47 you have all these super qualified people. Nimitz immediately understood the potential of nuclear propulsion in submarines and recommended the project to the Secretary of Navy, John L. Sullivan. Sullivan's endorsement to build the world's first nuclear-powered vessel, USS Nautilus, later caused Rickover to state that Sullivan was the true father of the nuclear navy. Not me, oh no, it's Sullivan. Subsequently, Rickover became chief of a new section of the Bureau of Ships, the Nuclear Power Division, reporting to Mills. Seriously, do you know how much trouble he would have gotten in for going around all his commanding officers like that? He began work with Alan M. Weinberg, the Oak Ridge Director of Research. So now he's back to Oak Ridge to initiate and develop the Oak Ridge School of Reactor Technology and to begin the design of the pressurized water reactor for submarine propulsion. I mean, so he's not only is he developing a school, which nowadays, if you're a developer of schools, that's what you do. It's not like you know, that's just your part-time gig. In February 1949, he was assigned to the Atomic Energy Commission's Division of Reactor Deployment and then assumed control of the Navy's efforts within the AEC as Director of the Naval Reactors Branch. The twin role enabled him to lead the effort to develop Nautilus. Man, he must have been busy. The original selection of Rickover as head of the development of the nation's nuclear submarine program ultimately rested with Admiral Mills. According to Lieutenant General Leslie Groves, director of the Manhattan Project, Mills was anxious to have a very determined man involved. He knew that Rickover was not too easy to get along with and, quote, not too popular, but in his judgment, Rickover was the man on whom the Navy could depend on no matter what opposition he may encounter. You know, those determined pogrom survivors. While the team and the industry were completing construction of the Nautilus, Rickover was promoted to rank of Rear Admiral in 1959. Why? I mean, do you not, like, does that not sound weird to you? This guy is working on ships and stuff. He's not out there being a naval officer in any sort of way. He's a mechanic. Why would he be made Rear Admiral? One of those extremely high positions. Imagine if you were one of the other Rear Admirals. Be like, what the fuck? It sure is interesting. While his team however, this was anything but routine and occurred only after an extraordinary chain of events. There you go again. An extraordinary chain of events to do something that's completely not normal. Rickover's peers in the Navy's engineering branch thought to get rid of him through failure of promotion above captain. This would entail automatic retirement at the 30-year mark, but some made the case to the U.S. Senate, charged by the Constitution with formal confirmation of military promotions. In that year, 1953, 2 years before Nautilus first went to sea, the Senate filed to give its usual pre-functionary approval of the Navy Admiral promotion list, and the press was outraged because Rickover's name was not on it. I bet. The press was just outraged about that because, you know, Rickover was just a household name back then. Ultimately, an enlightened Secretary of Navy, Robert B. Anderson, ordered a special selection board to sit. With some shuffling of the feet, it did what it had been ordered to do. 95% of Navy captains must retire regardless of how highly qualified, because there are only vacancies for 5% of them to become admirals. And although vindictiveness has sometimes played a part in determining who shall fail of selection for promotion, thus also violating the system, never before or since have pressures from outside the Navy overturned this form of career determination. So, it wasn't like the people, it was the press. When we say the press, do you guys know who they're talking about? Who do you think the press was back then? Who is it now? Who runs the press, the news? So because the press got mad that this one, you know, because they probably didn't have very many of them, even though he was supposedly Episcopalian. Everybody, his name's Hayom. What other chance do you think they have of getting somebody in a rear admiralship, that kind of a position? And again, why would the press even give half a shit about this dude's promotion? Like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense in the there's no friar conspiracy narrative. It totally makes sense when you think there's a friar conspiracy. Otherwise, give me something else. Give me something else. You guys show me another. Well, actually, you can't, because never before or since has the press influenced whether somebody got a promotion in the Navy. Get the fuck out of here. This is fucking ridiculous, man. He never got his hands dirty, never fired a gun, but can dictate who dies in war. Exactly. That is exactly it. Regardless of the challenges faced in developing and operating brand new technology, Rickover and the team did not disappoint. The result was a highly reliable nuclear reactor in a form factor that would fit into a submarine hull with no more than a 25-foot beam. I think that's, or 28-foot beam. I think that's the height. Maybe it's the width. I don't know. This became known as the S-1W reactor. Nautilus was launched and commissioned with this reactor in 1954.
Nautilus, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Right. And lots of other things. You do. I don't. That movie's terrible.
No, it's not. It's fun. Especially when you pick up all those little nuances.
Later, Rickover oversaw the development of Shippingport Atomic Power Station, the first commercial pressurized water reactor nuclear power plant. I mean, they're just yada-yadaing over how they created a nuclear reactor that can fit inside a submarine. And if they did this in 52 to 54, it only took 2 years to do it, too. From 52 to 54, why don't we have personal nuclear reactors here in 2025? It's almost 100 years later. That's how technology works. If they can get it that small back then, I mean, just think about this. We're talking about late 40s, early 50s technology. There's a whole kind of like a meme at this point where, you know, the narrative is that the amount of technology aboard the lunar lander, the original lunar lander, was less than your high-powered calculator is today. It had less computing power than your average high-power calculator today. It's like a joke. It's like they're just laughing at us. So do you think nukes are fake as well? Abso-fucking-lutely. What evidence do you have that they're real? That's the thing you need to ask yourself. Not why do I think it's fake. Why I think it's fake is irrelevant. Why do you think it's real? And when you start asking that question, you're gonna surprise yourself. You know, you're gonna be shocked by the reality that you suddenly find yourself looking at. You believe it's real because you were told to. And that's it. That's all it is. And a lot of us don't like to think that way about ourselves. We like thinking everybody else is sheep. It's like how Christians think every other religion is fucking fake and stupid. But not theirs. Are you sure this line is secure? I hate these shows. I fucking hate these shows. Well, fucking hate these shows. So, like I say, it's not why do I think submarines are fake. I'm reading to you the narrative that we're supposed to have. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This isn't some Alex Jones shit. This is Wikipedia. This is the #1 source of information, heavily controlled by Israel. This is the truth that they want us to know. Might not be true, but it's the truth they want us to know. Keep reading, but why do you think this is real? Does this sound real to you? Later, the first Kenneth Nichols of the AEC decided that Rickover Westinghouse pressurized water reactor was, quote, the best choice for a reactor to demonstrate the production of electricity, with Rickover, quote, having a going organization and a reactor project underway that now had no specific use to justify it. This was a reference to the first core used at a shipping port originating from a canceled nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. This was accepted by Louis Strauss and the Commission in January 1954. Some of this is, I mean, what? Rickover was promoted to Vice Admiral in 1958, the same year that he was awarded the first of 2 Congressional Gold Medals. He exercised, Congressional Gold Medal is this the highest ranking? Is the oldest and highest civilian award in the United States, alongside the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Why are we giving a high-ranking military official a civilian award? That don't make no sense. And it's the highest ranking civilian award.
Hello?
He exercised tight control for the next 3 decades over the ship's technology and personnel of the nuclear navy, interviewing and approving or denying every prospective officer being considered for a nuclear ship for his entire time. Every single time. This is crazy. Over the course of Rickover's career, 3 personal interviews, numbered in the tens of thousands, over 1,400 interviews, 14,000. All right, I gotta go. I will see you guys later. Have yourself a wonderful day. Pedophiles, kill yourself.